U.S. president oversteps his authority. What do you think about that, sir?
There's just nonsense efforts to try to constrain the power of the president. Article 2 of the Constitution gives enormous power to the president, certainly over tariffs. And these lawsuits, and there are probably hundreds of them all over the country, they're just frivolous for the most part. And they're just designed to slow him down, to make a political point. You know, occasionally one succeeds if there's a denial of due process, appropriate. But in general, the president has plenary power as the executive over foreign policy, over tariffs, over issues of that kind, and lawsuits won't stop him. You'll occasionally get a judge, though, who is very anti-Trump, who will say, well, you know, let's slow this down, let's give a stay. But in the end, when these cases get to the high Supreme Court, the president's power substantively will always be affirmed. Procedurally, sometimes there may be constraints on the ability to do things without a fair process, but substantively, the president will almost always win.
President Trump trying to make this country wealthy again, bringing manufacturing back. He's also trying to make us safe again. But you've got some activist judges trying to stop that, James Boasberg being one of them. He held a hearing yesterday to address allegations that the Trump administration violated his court order by proceeding with deportation flights. Boasberg is now looking into whether there is enough probable cause to hold Trump administration officials in contempt for ignoring his orders. What do you think about this, Professor Dershowitz? Here you have President Trump trying to deport the most violent cartel members there are that have been terrorizing Americans for the last 4 years, and you have a judge that is trying to stop this. You know, can he succeed, or is this going to end up in the Supreme Court as well?
He can succeed in the short term, but he can't succeed in the long term. Also, the judge himself totally screwed up. He issued an oral order asking the planes to turn around, and then he seemed to have rescinded that order in the written order. So he's not going to be able to hold anybody in contempt based on screw up. And so he's going to make trouble. His daughter, as I understand it, works for anti-deportation groups, so he may have a direct conflict. He's also been picked 4 times in a row, they claim, from a wheel. I know a little bit about mathematics and probabilities, and the odds are in a court with over 25 judges to have one judge get 4 Trump-related cases in a row, would be remarkable, if not impossible. So there are lots of problems with that judge and that court and that situation. But I assure you, in the end, the president's power to deport terrorists and violent people and people who advocate terrorism will be upheld. What upsets me most is the ACLU and universities, who not only claim to be supporting the free speech rights of terrorists, and that's okay, but they're on their side. They support them politically. They hold demonstrations on their behalf. You know, when I represented the rights of Nazis to march in Skokie, I never said I support the Nazis. I hated the Nazis. I thought they were horrible. But yeah, maybe they have free speech rights, so I defended and supported their free speech rights in the courts of public opinion. But I never said good things about the Nazis. But these professors and these organizations like the Anti-Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, which has become just one-sidedly pro-left, confuses the defense of people's views on the merits with their right to express horrible, horrible views.
So he's threatening to hold these Trump officials in contempt. What would something like that look like? What would his authority be over the White House?
Well, it wouldn't be able to be an authority over the White House. It would have to be authority over the lawyers who appeared before him in court. And he claims disregarded in order to turn the planes back. Apparently 2 of the planes were in the air, but 1 may not have been in the air. But then the written order came down, and the written order didn't have that. And generally, you follow the written order, not the oral order. So he could hold them in contempt. He's not going to put them in jail. If he tried to, it would be subject to a stay. And then when it gets to the higher courts, common sense will prevail, and there won't be any contempt order. So I think this is a big bluff, and I think it's just a lot of noise.
Professor Alan Dershowitz, as always, thank you so much for joining us, sir.